Έλα, αγάπη τι γίνεται?
I'm good, man. Are you coming live from Athens?
Live from Athens. Let me show you actually real quick. So you can see your old hometown. Είμαι στο πανόρ μου κοντά, φαντάσου.
Okay. Okay, by the way, I'm recording, so English.
Okay, great, perfect.
Oh, and it's beautiful weather too.
If you see us right here.
So that's Kivisias near the center. You're closer to Kedro.
Exactly. I'm at my grandma's house, actually. She has a nice apartment here. So staying here for the night.
Nice, man. Nice. And you were in Luxembourg before, right?
Yes, actually moved out from Luxembourg, came back to Greece. But we'll be doing the trip quite often. But yeah, I've kind of missed my own country, so I wanted to come back here.
So how does that work out now? You're going to be like working 2 weeks in each place?
No, so actually I negotiated with my job, and they allowed me to work from wherever I choose to. So I kind of was like, okay, so I'll be in Greece for a little while, but I have to go back often because we have different events, pilot coming up, different interesting things that we're working on. So I'll make the trip quite often. But my home base will be in Athens. You
gotta love crypto, right? You can work from anywhere. It doesn't. Everybody's pretty flexible because the talent set is pretty rare. I mean, you've now been in the crypto job market for, what is it, about 2 years?
I got involved in the job market. I got involved in 2000. My first company was 2018, I think.
Okay,
2018.
So about a year and a half.
May, a year and a half, a year and a half, I would say.
Oh wow, May, and was that Marlin?
No, the first one was Ncent Labs, actually.
Ncent
Labs.
They're based in San Francisco.
Correct. Do you know about them?
I believe Jain is the name of the guy.
Yeah. You met Jain?
I haven't. I've only seen him on Twitter. Have you met him in real life? Did you work with him?
Yeah. I lived with him. I stayed at his house for 2 months.
I love it. Everything's so hardcore.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Unfortunately, the company is not going so well, I believe, anymore. But it was a great experience back then.
Yeah, that's like 90% of the crypto projects of 2018, man.
So true. You're in Hong Kong at the moment, right?
I'm in Shanghai. Everybody thinks I'm in Hong Kong. I think it's because shit's going down. They're like, oh, Dean, he must be hardcore. He's in Hong Kong.
You're like, no, man, still in Shanghai.
Yeah, I'm playing it safe. I love it in Shanghai. So Ncent, and then after that you went to Marlin.
After that, I went to Marlin, exactly.
Got it. Now, after Marlin, it was Popplestay.
Correct.
How's Popplestay doing?
Oh, man. Remember the agency they hired? Back in the days? That was a big mistake. I think they did this fake fundraising, like they pretended they raised a bit of money, but in fact they didn't raise any money. The community went a bit wild. The token is still locked. Bounties haven't been delivered. ICO token hasn't been unlocked. It turned out pretty bad.
But I had left, man. It's a good thing you left.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember we talked back then. I had a lot of responsibility, and I messaged him about, I don't know, like 4 months ago together with my friend Eduardo. We were working together and we were like, can you please take us off the website? It would be great if we're not there anymore. But it was a great experience. Actually, Popplestay, I would say, was my biggest learning curve that I've had in a long while, because of the experience, because of the responsibility we had back then. And it was a new environment, and pretty much because my colleagues were not so high level as the other crypto projects I was working with, I had to step up myself a bit more. So even though the company might have not been necessarily the most high quality company or the one with the most correct values, it was the place where I actually learned the most, I feel.
That's interesting. I mean, so I get that in that those are the ones that need more marketing horsepower, right? Like
exactly.
That's how that engine runs. And one of the things, that's great about talking with someone like you, similarly with me, is that we've worked at so many of these. And I think that one of the skill sets somebody needs coming into the crypto space as a non-technical person is you need a bullshit detector. You need, because, you know, I know you well enough to know that it wasn't your aspiration to just go work there for the money. I know the money wasn't the reason you were doing it. It was, you know, you felt that this was a real product, competing against Airbnb. And I mean, do you think that that's like one of the skill sets you needed to develop?
The bullshit detector?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say I didn't have that bullshit detector yet. I was the type of person that as soon as I saw a good opportunity and my instinct said, let's go, I moved forward with it. But now every time that happens, I use more of my conscious brain and mind to actually come in and look at different aspects of the company. Like I ask questions that I wouldn't normally ask, like how much money have you raised, who's working there, what stage is your product, what percentage of the token sale, what percent of the token is allocated there, like questions which allow me to find out what I do want to find out. And if I see that the other person is not responding because actually he can't disclose the information, you can feel it. Like you can see when someone is not responding because he can't disclose, and you can see when someone is not responding because he wants to hide something.
The answer. Right.
Exactly. So that's something I started doing much more. I'm no longer trying to be nice or trying to fit in. I'm like, here's what I need to find out, and based on what you tell me, I'll decide whether it's going to work or not. Now, like for example, with my current company, I'll give you a quick example with VNX. When I asked them how much money have they raised, they actually couldn't disclose out of agreement. When I started working with the company, they told me how much money they raised. It was much different story than it's literally like Populstay and VNX is like the two extremes, like 100% completely extremes. So it was funny to see the difference.
Now you mentioned before that Populstay was like one of those places where your learning curve went up. Which of those, what was the muscle that you got to exercise the most there? What was that new skill set that you developed at Populstay?
I would say the ability to take a lot of responsibility in the marketing field, take other people with me and go and execute in different domains. Specifically, I would say sales, because we did a lot of, I tried at least to do a lot of fundraising. So we flew to a lot of different events. I was constantly networking, speaking to investors, pitching, creating pitch decks, redefining the pitch decks, constantly pitching investors.
A lot of this is experiential for somebody coming into almost any industry. Danisya.
They're good. No problem.
Okay, so yeah, on the crypto side though, like what did you get to do there? Was it like, one of the things for me is that there's a learning curve on the technology side, and you know, with something like Populstay, the promise is that these smart locks are using the blockchain. That way there doesn't have to be a third party giving me access, right? Was, you know, what did you know, maybe this is a leading question. You know, maybe there is no muscle you had to exercise because of virtue of the way Populstay was. I mean,
I think I know what you're trying to say. I would say that I learned in terms of technology to understand the fundamentals of not necessarily the lock, but more actually the platform, like the different types of code, the different types of blockchains that we could use, how the token would work, why is the token locked, why is the token unlocked, what is proof of work, what is proof of stake, why Ethereum, you know, all these different little technical details that as a marketer I never had the experience to get into. And by working with developers, by having a team of developers around me who we had lunch with, we ate together with, we had drinks together with, I was able to see a few details around the technical side. And then you really come down to the conclusion that Populstay was doing something good, but it wasn't necessarily that revolutionary, let's put it like that. And I feel like the technologies we were using them just for the brand, for the hype around it. And in fact, Yeah, exactly. So being able to have the fundamentals in terms of technological understanding of crypto, blockchain, and traditional software engineering, I think it's very important to kind of see, like, when you talk to a company, can how much value are they actually bringing with what they're using. And I think that's a very important question when deciding where to work and what to do.
So it's funny. I met with someone. This is so I don't know. I'm going to plug you into the Greek crypto crowd. Okay.
Oh, super cool.
I don't know if you've met them yet.
Not yet. I've been here 4 days in Athens.
Okay. So I had no aspirations of doing anything crypto related when I was vacationing in Athens. Zero, right? I was just gonna take it easy, do my Twitter shit, nothing else. And then I met with a friend of mine, like one of my best friends of all time, and I hadn't talked to him for 13 years. That's how close friends we are. He went off to study in Bocconi. Then he did some other finance stuff, and then I was always I was always using WhatsApp. He was always using Skype. Like, you get what I'm saying? And then I never got.
Never matched.
Well, I never even got into Facebook until I had a kid. So we finally met up after 13 years. Guy's one of the biggest Bitcoin dudes in Greece.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Super cool.
So we had met playing Magic the Gathering, this card game, way back in the day, like 20 years ago. And then it turns out that all that community that played Magic is now all into crypto. So
I love it.
It's interesting you learn these things. Like, I learned recently that Vitalik made Ethereum after rage quitting World of Warcraft because they nerfed the Warlock class. So
no, you're joking.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of commonalities in this area. So anyway, long story short, this has been a long story. He says, "Hey, you want to go to this Bitcoin event on Friday?" I said, "Bitcoin event in Greece? Come on, man. What's going on?"
How good could it be, right?
Yeah, he's like, "Well, have you ever heard of Andreas Antonopoulos?"
That's where you met him. No. You met him in Athens? He was here in Athens? You're joking.
Yes.
I love it.
And he gave an epic talk. He gave a talk about Bitcoin. He said, the next Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It was a fantastic talk about, like, basically.
Tweeted it as well.
I
tweeted it that day too. Oh, you or him? Someone tweeted it.
Yeah, he tweeted it, and then I've shared that line again because I think it's a phenomenal line, and it's a really good talk. I think he's gonna be sharing it soon. I use Patreon. That's why I get to see some of his content ahead of time. After going to that event, I became a patron of Andreas Antonopoulos. And in the talk, he talks about how the environment had an entrant, and because it's dominated that space, there's no room for something else to come in. So even if a superior Bitcoin came out today, it would have no food. All the developers know Bitcoin. All the people use Bitcoin. All the liquidity is on Bitcoin. Whereas if they both started out at the same time, sure, the other one could win because it was a superior Bitcoin. But yes, the crypto
after 10 years of people trying to hack it and everyone knowing about it, it's got complete brand power. So it's kind of I agree with that. I agree fully with that.
So the crypto crowd is real. I'll connect you, and super involved. It's crazy. I also got to meet somebody from the ETC community out in Greece, a big time miner. And these are people, a lot of these people just do it as a passion thing. My friend Chris, he had built this node, household node. It's mind blowing how much talent there is in these countries. But because of the situation, it's hard to get the investment. The brain power is there. It's just
I'm hopeful now with the new government. I'm a little hopeful. I have to say, more hopeful than I used to be.
That's good, man. That's good.
Times are changing, I think. They're supposed to change. It's been a long while since we've been at the bottom. Hopefully, we should be sometime soon.
So, do you plan on doing anything on the ground in Greece for VNX?
So VNX is not targeting Greece. Our main focus is actually Luxembourg, Korea, Luxembourg, Korea, and maybe Singapore, but mainly Luxembourg, Korean market. That's the two main um, countries we're tapping into. So not necessarily, but I'm planning to do crypto. I want to get involved in a crypto community if there's one. Originally, I thought about creating some sort of like get together. I don't know, like in Shanghai, you have Crypto Mondays done by.
There's no Crypto Monday in Athens, dude. If you want,
Yeah, exactly.
let's do it.
Exactly.
I think I know the creator.
If we have some
of Crypto Mondays. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's this. What's his name? Wurzinger, the blonde guy. No,
he's one of them. I know that Luke Kerner. I know Luke Kerner. He's the one I'm talking about. But let's make it happen. Okay, done. We've written it down. We're making Crypto Mondays in Greece.
Let's go. And I think we need it here. I mean, people need something to believe in. You know, like we're so broken in this country that Bitcoin in a way gives hope to people. If you think about it, is like. And especially in Greece, I think it's such a good use case because everyone has experienced what it means to be blocked by a bank, what it means to not being able to pull out your money, what it means to not being able to send money, what it means to like the relationship that Greek people have with our current fiat system is so rotten that Bitcoin is meant to thrive here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity in this country. We just have to utilize it.
There was a chance when I remember Varoufakis had played with the idea that Bitcoin could become the currency of Greece. You know, it would have been a ballsy move. In retrospect, it would have made Greece a very rich country.
Yes, if he made a decision back then, oh yes. Did you see the news about China? This thought that China is actually developing their own digital currency in the US. Did you see it on Twitter running around? And they're going pretty fast. It's going to happen much sooner than we think, I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting that someone had also shared a Bank of China like cartoon explaining Bitcoin. So I can't reconcile why they would be explaining Bitcoin. And they weren't explaining Bitcoin technologically and then saying, hey, this is a great technology, but here are the things wrong with Bitcoin. They were pitching Bitcoin, you know? So I don't know where that fits into.
Coming from the Bank of China?
Yeah.
Advertisement from the Bank of China. Wow, super cool.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, I don't see how it's like, how they do a crazy Ivan and go to, oh, well, instead of Bitcoin, here's our currency.
This is happening.
I think that.
I would say so.
I think there's a genuine desire to get, people ready to onboard, and maybe they're going to use their own currency to onboard and have both. But it's a fascinating topic. Yeah. Did you get a chance to spend any time in China when you were out here in Asia?
I actually haven't been in China at all. Just Singapore and Japan I went to.
So why is it like I get Luxembourg because that's where the company's based, right? VNX is based. Mm-hmm. But then why like all, across the ocean specifically to like Korea?
So it actually happened out of funny thing about when I started working with the company, one of our directors was a Litecoin director, Xing Yang, maybe you know her. Okay. And she lives in Singapore. She has very good connections in Singapore. We had an event with Charlie Lee. He connected us very well, and he kind of we networked from them towards Korea. Now Xing unfortunately left for reasons which actually I do not know. However, the connections we created with her stayed by chance. So we did have a strong market in Singapore and Korea. And then when moving back to Luxembourg, well, not moving, but when we were in Luxembourg working from there, the Luxembourgish government promoted wanted to enhance the relationship they had with the Korean government, with the Korean Business Chamber of Commerce. So VNX became part of the official economic mission of the Luxembourgish government to bond with the Korean government. So we had an event with the finance minister of Luxembourg, with a vice prime minister of Luxembourg. It was a big event, pictures, everything. So it was a very good opportunity to kind of work it out together. So it's by chance, but it ended up working really well. And also we all know that Korean market is very big in crypto. I mean, it's much more accepted than a lot of places. So from a small thing ended up turning into something much more beautiful.
Yeah,
And
and
actually,
a stamp of approval from Luxembourg, man. That's huge. You know, having them
we were
back.
very lucky.
So, for the audience, what's VNX?
So VNX is VNX is a token. Is a platform where you can trade tokenized investment funds. So to understand this, to explain this very simply, a venture capital fund, which invests, let's say, in 10 different companies, creates a portfolio out of those 10 different companies. That portfolio, however, though, has one big disadvantage: it stays locked up for a long period of time. So the investors who actually, yeah, exactly, for like from 5 to 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, up to 12, 15 years sometimes. So the lockup period is very long for venture capital. And unfortunately, that pushes away a lot of investors. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that the entry barrier for venture capital is very, very high. So if you're an individual investor who wants to get involved in a VC fund and you want to get into Uber or whatever other companies you want to get into, the minimum investment usually for a decent VC fund is starting at 500,000 plus. So in general, the entry barrier together with the lockup period is very, very pushes away a lot of people from venture capital. But venture capital is known to produce enormous amounts of return. So everyone wants to get in, but people don't want to put their money in because of the lockup period and the entry barrier. So what we're doing, we're tokenizing a percentage of those portfolios funds, putting them on our platform. We're an exchange. And accredited investors will have the opportunity to trade them at much smaller scale immediately. So we're decreasing the barrier of entry from, let's say, $500,000 to $50, and we're decreasing the lockup period from 12 years to 1 month. So really, we want to bring liquidity to the venture capital market. That's the main goal.
And so that's awesome. I mean, it's another way for a VC to raise capital after, you know, because it's not all locked up anymore. It decreases their risk. And at the same time decreases the risk for somebody participating in that. They're not going to get as much of a reward, but they now have access to that market. So that's pretty cool. And then you mentioned a 1 month lockup. How does that work?
So the exact detail, the 1 month was an example lockup. I was supposed to say that. Yeah, 1 month lockup could vary. So it could be 2 month lockup, 3 month lockup. So the way it would work. So let's say, let's take an example. So Ad Capital, it was one of our example funds that we wanted to tokenize back a few months ago. We prolonged the pilot, so now the pilot's happening very, very soon instead of making it in February. So they wanted to tokenize $20 million of the portfolio. So the way it would work is that there will be a book building event within our platform. So the investors who are holding a certain amount of VNX tokens have access to the book building event. It's kind of like let's say a token generation event of a venture capital fund. So before the fund goes public for everyone to trade on our platform, there's a few people who will be able to invest first, and the fund will be able to raise some money from that. Once that's launched, then the lockup period depends on each fund. Each fund is different. They have different different legislations, different criteria. It could be 1 month, 2 months, but as a rule of thumb, we're looking at a month period of time, not years, a few months to let the token go public.
But it's not like a scenario where like I can like come in and then like exit like, you know, 2 hours after lunch or something.
Not in the book building event, but when the fund has actually, after the book building event has passed and the token, the revenue, the security token of the fund is trading on the platform, then you can, it's like any normal exchange, security exchange, you buy, sell whenever you want. But during the initial phase where the fund is gathering money through the book building event on our platform, there you can just exit whenever you want. There's going to be set criteria depending on the fund, the portfolio, of when the token, from the date of the book building to the date of the launch of the token on our platform.
I love it, man. I mean, it sounds like it's filling a need. I've always like, you know, I've seen the STO tokens, you know, I understand, you know, like a real estate token. I get that, you know, sometimes people, you know, want to be able to divide things. I'm not great with the finance world, you know, to be honest. By the way, this entire YouTube is for entertainment purposes. Nothing is official in saying this. We're just actors talking. In case anybody wants to, you know, cause any shit,
No
So
official statements are made through us. This is purely for entertainment
no
reasons,
official
not
statement.
financial advice.
This is all
Do not.
entertainment value. So yeah, I'm not a finance guy, but I know enough that, you know, I can see when something's de-risked, and I see that it's fair on both sides. So yeah, did you ever think that you were going to get into this kind of?
No, actually, no. I'm very, very happy with this company. I feel like it's a place where everyone around me is very high level. The people involved, my bosses, the executives, the shareholders are all very high level individuals around the world. So it feels like I'm in an environment where I'm the least experienced person, so I get to learn a lot. And it's a great growth opportunity, and I really hope I can stick with this company for the years to come. And honestly, I think we have a good chance of doing something good here, I have to say.
It sounds like
I'm very like
I'm definitely going to look
did.
more into it. You know, when I publish this, I'm definitely going to tag and put the links for everybody to know it, because you know, the fact that you also have the endorsement from the Luxembourg government, or some sort of interaction with them, you know, I think that gives a stamp of approval.
No, so actually, yeah, so actually, they haven't really stamped us, because we have to be a bit careful how we do it. It's just we do common events together, to be
Yeah.
super clear. So we organize an event where not the prime minister, the deputy prime minister. The deputy prime minister is speaking together with my boss, for example, but there is no official association between the two of us.
All right.
Understood.
I you know, then I think I'm going to have to dig in deeper.
Yes, potentially yes.
That's awesome, dude. I never, you know, so a lot of people watching, they probably don't realize that you also gave a TED talk. What was your TED talk about?
The French one or the English one?
The English one, the one that most people can watch.
Yeah, the English one. So the English one was a TED talk I did. I was very young. I was like 4 years ago. It was about habits and the creation and how you can, how to use habits in a smart way to see continuous growth over this short burst of like energy and then falling back down, energy falling back down. So just in simplicity, I explained that we should break down things to the minimal and focus more on the activity than the result. And when we focus on the activity, we create the habit. When we focus on the result, we get frustrated and we quit. So by focusing on activities, we can change the way we are. So yeah, that was a very simple TED talk. I was young and it was fun. It was a fun experience.
You know, talking about TED Talks, because I think that it's a net positive. It's such a great thing that we have, right? You know, I call it YouTube for smart people. How did that change things for you? You know, did you get exposed to more opportunities? Has it been a door opener?
Yes, definitely. So I would say TED Talk builds you a lot of credibility. So when people see that you have a TED Talk, and especially if you have some views and everything, people respect you a little bit more because they look up to it. I mean, they've been watching them for many, many years, and they meet someone for the first time that actually gave one. For them is like, oh, super cool. How did you do that? So it definitely gives you some status, let's put it like that. But I'm not too worried about it. But it was a fun experience, definitely.
No,
I learned a lot.
I want people, you know, one of the things that I think is good in speaking to you, and both of us are in the same world, is kind of like, you know, two guys that said, hey, we're going to get into crypto, right? So what I want to convey more than anything is that anybody can do this. Anybody can spend the time to learn, to put themselves out there. Look, are you maybe not going to make a lot of money in the beginning? Possibly. Are you going to have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince like VNX? Sure. You know, you're going to have to build up that BS meter. It was one of the first things I had to do getting into this as well. And I want to decrease this concept that it's a barrier I can't overcome. And it's the same thing with the TED Talk. That's why I want you to kind of highlight that. You know, talk about that experience. You know, what would you tell somebody if they really had that as a goal? What should they, you know, start doing today?
TED Talk or crypto?
TED Talk.
TED Talk. Simple. So there's two ways you can do a TED Talk. Either you get invited to speak, or you apply to you apply and they accept you, and then you pass through. So the invited to speak, let's forget about it. The apply to get to, it's very simple actually. So number one, I would create my speech. So I would take a piece of paper out, I would start masterminding, do this for like a couple of weeks, get the whole text out. Once the text is ready, I would put bullet points. So get the key points out there, start practicing over and over and over again, practice with your friends, practice in front of the camera, practice in your own time. And at some point around the world, there's hundreds of TEDx's, not TED, TEDx's. And all you gotta do is send your application. They'll bring you for the audition, and if you've practiced enough in the audition, they'll take you in. It's not rocket science. Just people
rocket
don't
science,
think,
baby. That's what I was gonna say.
People think like TED Talk is like this thing where it's like, oh, it's like I gotta be someone special. It's like, man, if you're a good speaker, they'll take you. It's not that complicated. You just have to put in the work and apply. It's not complicated. It really isn't.
Brother, this has been perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to convey. That you're an example of, I put my mind to it, I can achieve it. You've achieved it. We definitely need to do this again. We have to have more updates. And is there anybody you want to give a shout out to that I'll put also in the tags?
I want to give a shout out to you of course, for being a great. Because I remember like, okay, so here's a little thing for everyone. I remember when I was in Singapore and I was a marketing manager, and with Popple Stay, and I got hired and I got promoted as a chief marketing officer. And I vividly remember calling Dean and be like, yo, I can't do this. Help me out over here. And you were like, no, man, like this is what you gotta do. You gotta focus on the one thing, narrow it down, find the most important activity, focus on that. For you, it's fundraising, go do that. And you kind of put me to straight. And that conversation we had 1 hour, I even remember the visuals because I was walking around the Singapore office. Really helped me a lot. And it's not often that you find people who are unconditionally giving just because they want to give. So I really appreciate that. So the shout out goes to you.
All these love knives. Oh my God. Oh, I feel so too much. Dude, thank you so much. And mutual respect, keep it up. I guess it's now both of our duty to find someone else to bring them up and help them. And hopefully it's somebody from this audience. So if you saw this and you want to be somebody that's in a similar position, you want to be on a TED, you want to have your own YouTube, you want to be writing, just reach out and we'll help. Periklis, Megale, take it easy. And
thank you so much.
We'll talk soon.
Much love to everyone, and keep crushing the crypto games.
I think that was good.
Perfect. Good. Excellent. Πού θα το κάνεις cut στην αρχή, γιατί δεν το σκέφτεται, μετά το record μετά και λέω, όχι τι μαλακίες κάνω και τρέχω εδώ με το κινητό.
So to be honest, I'm not going to cut anything, man.
You'll leave it just like that, natural, right?
All natural.